move to Athens, Georgia. Georgia begins a trio of very tough games with Missouri. This one, Georgia's a 15.5-point favorite. Dan, that is so many points against a good team.
Yeah. Coming off a bye too, right? Mizzou didn't play last week. And so look, it's in Athens. I think there is a fact that a lot of people are trying everything they can to not admit to themselves involved with where Georgia is right now. And that's that Carson Beck might be actually really good.
Oh, yeah, he's good.
And so, everybody that doesn't root for Georgia is, Usain Bolt in getting to the point where like, well, it's a system thing. You give me Georgia's receivers and Georgia's line and Georgia's running backs and Georgia's defense as a backstop, and I'll be an all SEC type quarterback. He's really good. He's confident. He steps into the pocket and throws with poise. Like, look, no Brock Bowers, no problem last week against Florida. And I think Mizzou's a different challenge. I just don't think the Mizzou defense, as we saw what LSU did slicing them up, I just don't think that the Mizzou defense is where it's been. And so I like Georgia a good deal. You talk about that number. Look, if Mizzou beats Georgia, they're probably beating them comfortably. If Mizzou plays incredibly, they have a chance to win this game. But also if Mizzou plays incredibly, it might not matter. So they can play incredibly for 2 quarters and have it be a 17-13 game at the half, and all of a sudden it's 44-17. So I like Georgia just because you add in a more confident Carson Beck. You add in the receivers getting more involved with no Brock Bowers, forcing Carson Beck to spread it out a little bit more. That becomes more and more scary to me.
So I saw Georgia last week, and he did spread it out very well.
Yeah.
Ladd McConkey seems to have moved into the safety blanket role that Brock Bowers was occupying. And, across the middle of the field, McConkey seems to be good at finding that open spot and settling down, and then Beck can hit him. But Dominic Lovett looked good too.
Yeah.
I was impressed with some of their young D linemen too. Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins, who's coming off a foot surgery, looked really good. And then they had Damon Wilson was making plays. Like we'll be right back with more picks. But first, I want to tell you about Game Time. All these big games we're talking about, you could be going this weekend with Game Time. Yes, most of them are sold out. Doesn't matter. Game Time has last-minute tickets to everything: sporting events, concerts, comedy shows, you name it. So you want to go to Alabama, LSU? You can go with Game Time. There's a get-in price of about $158 right now. You want to go to Kansas State at Texas? You can go with Game Time. The cheapest ticket right now, $74. Here's how you do it. You search for the event you want, click it on the Game Time app, find the ticket you're looking at. All of a sudden, you see a photo. That's what you're looking at in the stadium. That is your vantage point. Couple more taps, and that ticket is yours. If you want to transfer it on game day via text, you can do that. Game Time makes all of this process very easy. Didn't used to be easy. You have to go find the guy standing outside the stadium holding tickets, haggle, cash. Maybe it's a real ticket, maybe it isn't. That's not a problem with Game Time. So get the Game Time app, use the code STAPLES, and you get $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time, sign up, code STAPLES, $20 off your first purchase. It is the easiest, most stress-free way to get last-minute tickets. Try Game Time today. This line is a question. It is a question that asks, which Georgia are we going to see? The Georgia that played Kentucky and Florida, or the Georgia that played Auburn and South Carolina? Both of those other games are more recent. Both Kentucky and Florida more recent than Auburn and South Carolina.
Yeah, and look, we've had the closer that Georgia games are, the less it allows for them to rotate confidently up front. But when you start blowing out teams like Kentucky, you start separating from Florida, then all of a sudden your guys are getting experience, your guys are getting rest, your 1s and 2s, you're getting a nice rotation going. We know Kirby's long believed in that. And so I think they're going to be deep against Mizzou. And the thing that I actually like about Mizzou on the other end, talking about the Georgia defensive line, is Cody Schrader has been really good. He's been one of the best 3 or 4 backs in this conference, and they've become a more complete offense because of it. And the better he is, the more things tend to open up for a guy like Luther Burden, who's one of the best, 2 or 3 receivers in this conference. So there is something that's kind of fascinating about Mizzou, but there's also something about a lot of the defenses that Mizzou has faced not necessarily preparing you for Georgia.
So I came into this planning to pick Mizzou to cover but not win.
Yeah.
The open week thing, the time off, the prep time. But the more I think about it, the more I think Georgia may just be hitting that gear. And the fact that this is at home only enhances that. So I was ready.
Yeah.
I was ready to take Mizzou to cover, but I have been my mind has been changed.
Yeah, you may have missed your window to bet against Georgia, at least spread wise or over under wise, because they're getting comfortable. It's a letdown spot. I just think Georgia might be impervious to things like that at this point.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a letdown spot because I don't think they were that worried about Florida. So
sure.
I do think the weeks get harder because of cumulative good teams they have to play, where it goes Mizzou, Ole Miss, Tennessee. But what I saw on Saturday leads me to believe that they might have flipped that switch, which God help anybody who has to play him at that point. So I will take Georgia to cover. That's not what I was thinking. Yeah. But
no, and it's
here we are.
You look at some of the matchups too. It's like Georgia's been especially good at preventing bigger pass plays. The secondary is rounded into shape recently, and like Mizzou's really good. And Mizzou again, they have one of the most electric receivers in the sport in Luther Burden, but Georgia's good enough to force you off your spot. And so if Mizzou has to improvise and win in new ways in Athens, Georgia, I don't know. A close game can turn into something ugly quick.
Yeah, and that's what, when you were talking about Cody Schrader and what a job he's done, I just kept thinking back. Remember when Arkansas went to Georgia as a top 10 team a few years ago?
Like 37-0 or something?
Yeah, now granted, this is not as good a Georgia defense as that Georgia defense, but it's still one of those things where you get flashbacks to, oh yeah, when Georgia really wants to play, they can do this. So,
oh yeah.
We will agree on that. Thank you so much for watching. Just a reminder, subscribe to this channel right here so you never miss an episode of Andy Staples on 3. And oh, by the way, watch all the other great videos on the On3 Sports YouTube channel.